let's see. Here we go. So we have Ken Richardson here, he's a former past president. And maybe you can tell me what year. Do you remember what year you were president of the ASHRAE chapter? I have it down in my notes somewhere, but that's not real important.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's well, anyway, it's a pleasure, and thanks for making the time so we could interview you.
Of course.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself. Oh, here it is. You were 2002 to 2003.
Okay.
Chapter president. Seems like yesterday, I bet. But anyway, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, just to give some context to us.
Okay. Well, grew up in California, Pacifica, California, below San Francisco. Parents bought a house for $9,000, and I still own it. And just grew up in a great place and a very comfortable life. Parents bought a surf shop, so I learned to surf. And then got out of high school and really didn't have anything scheduled like college or anything, and joined the Air Force because they would put me through electronics school, guaranteed. I checked with the Navy. They said, no, you show up at basic and then they'll decide. It's like, no, I want to know now. So, and that was during Vietnam. So Air Force was 4 years. And they put me through electronic school, and then, worked as an electronic technician on the planes for my full 4 years. Exactly. I didn't get out early or anything. It was full time. And then was in California, so I just drove home. It was my
was
old. Yeah,
that's great. Great. You were stationed in Asia, weren't you? In the Air Force?
Well, I was stationed from after tech school, I was stationed at Beale Air Force Base, which is Marysville, Yuba City, and in that area above, near Sacramento. And it was the SR-71 Blackbird was the plane that we worked on. And our overseas location was Kadena Air Force Base, Okinawa. So I made about 6 or 7 trips to Okinawa for temporary duty. Most of them later on were 6 months long. I would spend over there because I was from California, so I was home every weekend if I was at Beale. So I spent most of my time in Okinawa.
That's nice. So that's how you got interested in engineering and HVAC and stuff like that?
Well, I still didn't know engineering or HVAC. I mean, I understood, quite a bit about electronics, not everything. But when I got out, I actually went to work for Walgreens. I didn't know if I knew enough. And then I got a job at World Airways, and I built some radio racks. And my radio racks worked. They didn't burn like the other guys did. So then I met somebody from Johnson Controls, and I was at Walgreens, and we were friends. Our wives were both Korean. And one day he says, do you want to get back in the technical side? I said, yes. And so he showed me what they did, and I got interviewed and hired as a technician. And in those days, there was just 2 of us on the whole West Coast for building automation, basically. Yeah. And then I was doing.
Was that in days of pneumatic?
Yeah. Well, pneumatic was still a big thing. Basically, the building automation was just a big time clock. Very expensive time clock, but it would, read temperatures and trend log and things like that, but it didn't really do a lot of control functions. You still have the pneumatic side that had thermostats and the building automation both. So I was working in Reno, and then the branch manager up there asked if he could hire me. So we moved to Reno, worked at the University of Nevada, Reno, mostly, but other jobs too. And then got an offer to go to Hong Kong. So we went to Hong Kong for 4 years. Worked on one project for 4 years. It was 4 office buildings, 2 hotels, and 7 apartment condo towers. And that one, though, was not temperature control. That was fire alarm. So when the 4 years were up and our 2 kids were born in Hong Kong, then we moved back to San Francisco, worked for the branch as a project manager on a IBM Almaden research facility, which was all building automation, and it was 1,000 labs and 1,000 offices.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so I was working on that, and then I got promoted to operation manager in the branch. And then I got to work on actually Skywalker Ranch, Lucas Films, and work on the sound studio up there for a while, even though I was operation manager. And that was pretty neat. We got to go to a party up there and stuff. Yeah, then I got offered the job in Hawaii. Even though I was a tech, the regional manager finally decided that maybe I could do it. So they sent me to Hawaii in '87. We never left for that.
So tell me about your memories about ASHRAE or your involvement in ASHRAE.
Yeah, so my involvement really just Reno, and that was pretty low key. And then when I got involved in Honolulu was, like I said, that first meeting at the restaurant was pretty overwhelming. All these people were, you knew they were been around the industry a long time. There was all the top engineers are there too.
That was a Flamingo chuck wagon, right?
Yeah, Flamingo chuck wagon. Yeah.
I think it was like $12 or something for the whole buffet.
Probably.
The prime rib.
Yeah. And so then I just then actually Sam Fujikawa asked if I could help with a regional meeting. And so I was, just one of the helpers on it. He gave me certain jobs to do and everything. It's at one of the hotels in Waikiki. And then when the next joint region meeting came up, I was asked to kind of, handle all the signups and all that kind of stuff. So I started doing that. And that's when Alex Tang and Eric Nakagawa, we were all partners on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Tell me about Frank Lum when he invited you out when you first got to Hawaii to ASHRAE.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank, I don't remember everything, but I remember that first meeting at the Flamingo. I was a little bit overwhelmed. I probably didn't say too much to anybody. It was, literally it was tables of, everybody in town was there. And so then over the time, Frank introduced me to everybody. And so slowly got to meet more people and stuff and get a little bit more comfortable with it. I didn't know Fred very well. Much later, a little bit better. And then, but all the guys, the top name guys are there. The guys with their name on the company, they were there at ASHRAE,
I remember Fred Colas.
Yeah.
Giovanni Chung was always involved, or they were jumping up and down at the meetings, I remember. Something about cutting dues. They always made a motion to cut dues. That's my early memories.
That sounds right. Yeah. That's, um, yeah. So it was, it was really interesting. So started getting more involved, which is good. Got to know more people. We even did that one year. We had a national meeting here, a summer meeting, and I wasn't running it, but I was like managing the rooms, and we had to do some kind of survey for each room or something. So, but that was fascinating. Um, yeah, spent a lot of time on ASHRAE involvement. It was good though. I enjoyed it. I think I got a little burned out after. So.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, but
Any
yeah.
any colorful characters that you remember, or just good friendships that influenced you as you going along there?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, Sam is a colorful character all the time, but the I don't remember too much other than just Eric and my brain's gone.
Alex, I think you said.
Alex, yeah, Alex, yeah. They were great buddies, and there's one thing that Alex used to tease me about, because I turn around and look at him and I go, "Hey, Eric." He goes, "How can you call me Eric? Look at me, I'm the skinny guy." But those guys were great. We had, I mean, it took from their, took a lot of time out of their, those 3 or 4 days just going strong. And then, yeah, then it was from that, some of the national meetings we went to, not, not necessarily participating in anything special, but getting to know different people from all over the place. And I thought that was good. I, learned something about different things that I never knew before. It wasn't like I grew up in this industry other than with Johnson Controls for 18 years.
And then starting your own company, right? At Island Controls.
Yeah, so I was at
started from
Heidi and
scratch.
Cook. Yeah, I got offered automated logic at Heidi and Cook. Mark Clark, who I took his place at Johnson, had left Johnson and went to work for automated logic. And one time he called me up and he said, "Hey, we don't have anybody in Hawaii. Would you like the dealership?" And I said, "Well, come on over. Let's see." And what I did is actually made arrangements to buy the system and put it in at Heidi and Cook, so I could see. It was kind of like that show me, the from Missouri or somewhere, the show me state, right? I want to see it work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was impressed by it. Said, okay, and my partners at Heidi were okay with it at that time, and that's when we started Island Controls. And a little difficult because we're a mechanical contractor selling to mechanical contractors, which is not the best situation. Well, we had some restrictions there. But as we got going, we started picking up some steam. And then when my partners decided that they would buy me out and I bought Island Controls, was when it really opened up for us that we could now sell to anybody, because we weren't competing in the same, mechanical field as them. So that's when we actually moved to a 400 square foot office for a year, and then we moved into a bigger office after that. So
yeah,
yeah.
The change in controls has just been amazing. I mean, just unreal to me. From my starting days to now, it's all
computerized,
sensors,
they,
what you can measure.
Oh yeah, the first time I saw the Johnson JC80 system, it was a cabinet that was taller than me, probably 3 feet wide or something. These big cards, that you plugged in, and all it did was read temperatures and sensors, and it did a little control, but it did time clock control. There's a big time clock, and um, then then the industry really started changing. Probably 10 years later, where one microprocessor would actually have, um, especially with the automated logic, would have all the data in it, all the program, and stand alone, and really do the control. Um, so that was good when we got to that point. Then it became more logical to sell the system than before, and the prices started coming down. So yeah, it's amazing what it's changed to from what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, maybe the last question is, what advice would you give to our younger members, or, our younger engineers in the HVAC industry? Can you think of anything, or just looking back at all
Yeah,
this?
well, the I've had a few cases where I've talked to some of the young engineers at several firms, and uh, trying to get them to understand. It's not very difficult, I don't think, to understand what you need. But I think because of the pressure nowadays, they don't maybe have the time to really learn it. So, they're probably more copying, pasting it together instead of, figuring out
Yeah,
what's best for the customer.
you're talking
Um,
about controls, right?
yeah, yeah, controls, yeah. Because, the military has more requirements than the public sector does, but yet we're seeing that on the private side too, that they're using the same point lists and the same kind of spec. They're like, well, you're just spending extra money, but you don't really need to, you know. I think one of the things that, and it sounds so simple, but one of the things that um, I've talked to many customers, especially outer island, we'll get a call from the big island, and they're like, "Oh my God, the computer failed. What do we do? How do we turn on everything?" And our first response is, "Don't touch anything." And then they call back about 30 minutes later. They go, "Everything's working fine. The time clock's working. Everything." Yeah, it's all in the module. We have a program, and we have the time schedule. It's all in the module, so everything stands alone. It doesn't need the computer anymore. So the computer will extract information and help you build trend logs, and update graphics, and alarm things. But it still can stand alone by itself. So if somebody cuts the wire, the comm wire, that module keeps working just like it did before, right? And we explained to them, that's why we told you don't touch anything, because once you start switching things in hand, then the microprocessor can't control it, right? So we think it's great because we have a lot of work out our island, and we don't want to be trying to get over there and, let's say, a hotel resort, holding them up for 8 hours or a day, and no control.
Yeah,
So this, having it, each of the modules and the module stack in the chiller room, able to just run standalone. It's been fantastic. Takes the pressure off of us, and it also kind of opens the eyes of our customer that, okay, we're in good shape. Let's go figure out what else we have to do. So that, I think that's the one part that's been really good. It sounds so simple, but we never had that before. You know, the systems I worked on prior to that, once you lost that communication, you lost everything. It was, you know, it wasn't going to work. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So that really
nowadays, like the remote
yeah,
monitoring is unreal. You know, before you had
right,
to physically go out and see everything, and now you
right.
can do it from wherever you are to kind of look at what's going on. I mean, people
It's
nowadays take that for granted because of, you know, what we have with before you'd have to hop on a plane and go down there and physically see it, right?
right, right. Well, you know, luckily that our our technicians are really good about accepting phone calls late at night and getting on their computer and going in and saying, okay, you know, this is what I see and this is what we can do. And you know, it doesn't happen that often, but those are the times where, you know, the customer's feeling pretty hopeless, right? And so, you know, our guys have done that many times, and most times not even charge the customer, just take care of it for them.
Mm.
But it's really nice to have that option nowadays, um, to get in remotely. Of course, we can't do that at the bases. The bases are under different criteria.
Yeah, yeah, all it's
Yeah,
cybersecurity and all that stuff.
exactly, right, yeah. And so, you know, and that is something too, is even for our regular customers, you know, trying to um, make sure they, you know, keep their contracts updated so we can keep them safe too, right? Um, and so anyway, it's worked out pretty well. But yeah, at that remote, wow, it's been a lifesaver. Um, you know, now, I mean, it's really expensive flying outer island and renting a car. If you have to stay overnight, it's like, oh man, it's um,
Yeah.
it's customer pretty hard. Yeah. So
Hey, do you want to say anything else and maybe in closing,
um,
any great
I
thoughts you might have?
great. Well, I've just enjoyed it so much, and I really enjoy, you know, the people I work with. They they you know, they'll make decisions on their own, um, that are right for the customer, and I like that. And what we've found is that, you know, we're able to keep our customers because, our people care about it, take care of them, and we also, um, you know, we just don't, we're there for them, right? We don't nickel and dime them, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
because, and I think that's important, that we're focused as a service business and not a construction business. And of course, a lot of contractors don't understand that because they think, no, you're doing construction. You're like, this is really a service business now that we're controlling everything, and you know, really helping the customer from those late night calls of, you know, showing up somewhere, as long as, even if the comm is down, the system's still running, right? And you know, so yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It is getting more complicated. We've got people that, you know, think way over my head now because of this, you know, cybersecurity, and you know, every new version of software, it's got, you know, some new tools in it. Um, but
yeah. And you know, these
yeah,
kids nowadays, they start playing around with these microprocessors, like, you know, in elementary school, you know, and the
yeah,
robotics and everything. I mean, it's just like, you know, second nature now, the programming and stuff. So it's just unreal to me to see that. And so they're really, you know, versed in the whole logic and just how things work in the
yeah.
control and stuff.
I agree totally. You know, Les has brought me up to. We do work at Kamehameha Schools, Kapalama, but he's brought me up there a couple times, and these kids, they're amazing. boys and girls, and it's amazing what they've learned. And there's a lot of, nowadays, of course, a lot of opportunities out there because everything's got a microprocessor in it, right? It's almost your car, everything.
Yeah, that's right. You don't fool around with the engine anymore. Not like before.
No, exactly. Well, you can't get inside the engine compartment anymore either. When I was a kid well, I was just before I went in the Air Force, I had a Mustang. You could actually climb in there and do work. Now you open it up, it's full of everything, right? Yeah, the robotics program, what Les has done with that, it's been amazing. And these kids they're just super humble. One of our guys, our engineer, DDC control guy, he's got a program where he teaches boys and girls robotics, and he's not really associated with anything, but he takes them to the mainland to these contests, and we support him with that. I think it's fantastic. And, it's a different. It's not like for me with slide rule in high school, right? So,
yeah. Hey, well, thanks, Ken, for taking the time and for all your service to the local ASHRAE and being involved and, really showing the aloha spirit just in how you conduct business and everything and always being open to dumb questions and stuff like that from us consultants and things like that. Appreciate that.
One is I've enjoyed it, but also I appreciate that, the community's been good to us and open to us. And I never forget, what the opportunities have come because of that. And it's a little bit, I know for the engineering side, it's a little hard sometimes understanding as these things change, but in some ways it's simple. In some ways, if you get down into the nitty gritty, it gets a little bit complicated. But yeah, it's so much better, way better than what we had, back when I started, for sure. So I enjoy it. I enjoy that our young guys, they're off and running. We have one guy's a pipe fitter. He was in our AC department, and we brought him over. Now he's full time in the DDC side, and he's doing wonderful. So it's a good thing to see. I hope there's more and more jobs available in Hawaii that these kids can get. Although I do think it's good for them to go away for a while, but hopefully they can come home.
Yeah. Well, what I've always appreciated about you is that you could just explain something that seems so complex and just make it simple. And then it's like the light bulb kind of, after you explain it, the light bulb goes off and go, oh, now I understand what this thing is for, how it works. So I really appreciate that. So.
Well, that's what I think, actually. And that's also, but a lot of it's pretty straightforward. It takes a lot to program it, but the logic is pretty straightforward. Just like I said, with the modules can stand alone, right? Little things like that are a huge advantage for the customer, because when their computer's going to fail, it goes down, the system still works. And that was something that Automated Logic had from day one when we bought into using the system. Was they had that built in already, and I was like, no, I like that. Where we diminish the real emergencies, right? And so we have many calls though with customers going, just don't touch anything, leave it alone. We'll be out. And we get out there and they're like, but everything's running. Oh yeah, that's good.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
You,
I'm going to stop the recording right now.
Okay.
And let's see.